you think you want is not the thing that you need. And that keeps you sane a little bit.
I think so. I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
What about, there has been some controversy like over Jesse, like when Chris was, initially gone and, that there was a lot of people that were like, this is an opportunity to like hire a host like permanently that, adds like diversity and inclusion. There is some pushback, amongst, of course, shocking online, Reddit and all the other places with Bachelor Nation about like, okay, we have a new host. He's like a cis white, male. Where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I understand change is hard for everybody, and those are hard decisions. And those decisions are made by people way above my pay grade. Listen, if they had gone with me, it would have been the same thing. I'm, cis white guy. So yeah, I listen, I'm not paid enough to make those decisions, but I understand, people always want different things, and you can't make everybody happy, unfortunately.
No, you can't. Well, the last time you were here, I asked you if you would ever be getting married. You have gotten married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
They say it feels different no matter how long you've lived with or gone out with someone. So does it feel different being a married man?
Not at all. Because we were also engaged for so long because of the pandemic and weren't able to get married. We had to push our wedding twice because our venue was like, we're not letting a lot of people in. So we kind of felt like we were married for those 2 years. So yeah, nothing really has changed other than, we have more jewelry on our hands.
Do you remember anything from the wedding? I talked to married couples that just say like it's all a blur. It went by so fast.
It is. There are a couple of things that like really stick out the most. I remember Sarah and I laughing while it was happening, saying, "God, I wish we were invited to this wedding. Looks like a lot of fun." Everyone had a lot of fun at our wedding, and I attribute that to it was the kind of the first big thing that a lot of people got to do post pandemic, because it was kind of coming at the tail end of it. And so everyone's like, I've been stuck in my house for so long. I'm going to party like it's 1999. And so it got turned up real fast. The after party was super, super weird. Everyone was just having the best time they've ever had. And basically Sarah and I were sober being like, look at all these idiots. And I think one of my favorite moments, aside from like actually getting married, and like reading our vows and stuff and doing our first dance, a moment that I really enjoyed. And I think it was her stylist that gave us this bit of advice. They were like, after the wedding, while everyone's like kind of like hanging around the reception, go find some high ground and look down and look at everybody. And it was an emotional thing, and it was beautiful. We went up and we looked down on all these, these different amalgamations of friends and family and work people and all these different things that make up who we are, having to intertwine with one another. And everyone loved everybody. Like, it's funny to see a lot of Bachelor Nation people hanging out with a lot of Modern Family people, and then, cast or crew from both of those shows intertwining. And then, friends from Sarah's high school days and like my college days all coming together. It was really beautiful, and it was a cool thing to witness.
Who got the drunkest from the Modern Family cast out of those in attendance?
Oh, of course, I can't answer that question.
Well, how was Jesse Tyler Ferguson as the officiant, and did you miss Ty Burrell? I know he was originally the one who was chosen. I know you were a huge Ty Burrell fan before.
Well, I'm a huge fan of both of them. I mean, we had chosen Ty originally because Ty has done this before, whereas Jesse had not done that. So it wasn't like we liked Ty better. It was, well, he's done it. So, and he's like got the bullshit, thing online that says you can marry people. But unfortunately he had kind of like a family emergency and couldn't do it. And listen, if you have to replace Ty Burrell with a Tony Award winning Jesse Tyler Ferguson, you're not doing too bad. I've always said that Ty's the funniest guy I've ever met from that show, and maybe in life. And Jesse Tyler Ferguson is probably 1A. And so having him up there was amazing. He was so freaking funny, but it was tough because he was so good and so funny that both Sarah and I kept on looking at Jesse and like laughing at his jokes and being like, okay, I got to focus on the girl I'm marrying. Like you're almost too funny right now. But he did an amazing job and everything worked out the way it was supposed to. And I love Jesse and his husband Justin so much. They're amazing people.
Who gave you the best gift from the Modern Family cast?
That's a good question. I think Sophia Vergara did. She gave us a real nice like outdoor teak table that it's funny because I was just like, I gotta clean this thing because you gotta clean. I didn't know you gotta clean teak.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we were just talking. I was like literally just looking on Amazon, finding like a teak cleaning thing. But everyone was very, very generous. But that's just the one that's popping in my mind right now.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was great.
Right. And you had some Bachelor Nation people there. I mean, Chris was there. How is Chris Harrison doing these days? And from one podcast host to the next, how do you feel about his podcast? I think it's great, but he's gotten flack on it. But I think it's a great podcast.
Like I said earlier, you can't please everybody. I was like one of his first guests on the show because we were playing all in a golf tournament together in Orlando. So yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that he's getting back out there and working. He's a workaholic. And so I know having to take a little bit of a sabbatical and a timeout, and I know that was hard for him, but I'm proud of him for doing that, and I think it was something that he needed to do. He needed some contrition from what had happened, and I think that he's done that. And we all have to move on from things eventually, and you can't just stop doing the things that you do. And so I'm just happy that he's getting to, kind of scratch that itch, which is, hosting things.
That is the thing, back to your 7 years, with My Favorite Thing. It's like, and I have a lot of friends that worked at Sirius Radio, and a lot of them are now, there's a lot of changes at Sirius, and now, there's a lot of pink slips and people are reinventing themselves and starting podcasts. I mean, I think that's the great thing about a podcast, that technically you do kind of just take the matters into your own hands and you can do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. What do you think about cancel culture? I mean, we're in like a different stage of it now per se, but like, what do you think just in general of cancel culture? I'm just curious.
I think in certain instances it's needed and very good. I do wonder if the pandemic made things worse because people were so angry, and they were angry because obviously like they were stuck at home or they're losing their jobs. They were getting pinched. Inflation started going crazy. Like I totally